Today, we need to talk about JHope asking Taehyung to go get some help. We need to talk about what is believed to be JHope's reaction to apparently Jimin not eating, trigger warning on that, and then we have some leaked clips of Taehyung and a staff member. So hey Dumplings, it's Dave. Decide hate it or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Grab your dumplings, hastily mug merch, and let's go. We need to talk about what Taehyung did and why people were so shocked about this. If you are unaware, Taehyung has been doing a show and it looks like it has been doing well. The show is called Jinny's Kitchen and I've reacted to season 1 on Patreon, and if you'd like to join me and other dumplings in reacting to the show, I will link that at the top of the description. But the show has been doing very well and it has recently launched a season 2. Now if you don't know what the show is about, let me give some backstory, and if you do, bear with me. Taehyung and a bunch of his friends, including the boss investor man, decided to open a shop somewhere in Mexico. Taehyung plays the part of an intern at the shop, and to be honest, I don't think any of them are getting paid to be staff. I think they're paid through the show and royalties from that. There was even an episode where the customer thought that all the staff looked so good, and then they realized each person was either an actor or an idol. But there is this woman named Yumi who is on the show. She is so unbelievably cute and gets so stressed, and she is just such a hard worker and all of the good things. The second season of Jinny's Kitchen doesn't completely take place at this restaurant anymore. As I imagine, the restaurant has probably gotten staff hired in and they have their own system already. So they probably don't want idols to come in and film that while also simultaneously having to temporarily let go of the staff that was newly hired in. So the new season is all the cast members doing fun things and just playing games, because I think a lot of the appeal of the show is just simply seeing how they interact with each other. And I think that is very cute. We also get to see how they interact as their true self, and we get to see how Taehyung is outside of being an idol. There was even a moment where Yumi actually fell asleep on the couch during the day as she probably needed a nap. Taehyung very quickly noticed that the sunlight was peeking through the window and likely hitting Yumi's face, and so he obviously thought this is not good and not a good way to get rest. So he obviously went over to pull the curtains, and then you don't see him do this, but you also notice that Yumi's blanket is fixed, so he likely fixed that for her as well, which is so cute, as my mom would probably bring the sun and winter into my room just to get me to wake up. So anyway, Taehyung ended up going viral for this, as people thought he was being so sweet, and it was so sweet to see his reaction to such a situation where he wanted to treat someone well. Of course, for some reason, people were very shocked to see him do this, and this definitely makes me wonder how bad all of you people are treated by other people, and honestly, I'm on the same boat as y'all. I have trauma too. But I love seeing that our boys get the recognition for being the sweethearts that they are. Very beautiful. There's also been a lot of content that has been coming out, and one piece of content that was very fun was Jimin's documentary. The documentary shows his process in making his solo music and serves as another means to promote his album. Of course, since the documentary just dropped, people are now going back to his old stuff and going through everything. And then they were seeing other moments of how Jimin has interacted when he was with the other BTS members. And some of those moments actually ended up touching everyone's hearts, because Jimin is so considerate of the other members. So what happened? This was a behind-the-scenes moment from what appeared to be the On set, and there was a moment in which Taehyung seemed to have gotten injured. Jimin asked Taehyung if he was okay and if his foot got injured, and it seemed like it was. On and Black Swan was definitely an era that was unique. Aside from that, I think that era also pushed BTS so far into people being unable to deny that they're talented, because they're doing such intense choreography while dancing and singing at the same time. It's just stuff that most people would be so incredibly winded from doing. And in this era, we also got to see the BTS members injured a lot because of just how crazy they were working themselves. And I really don't think this was the label. I think this was their own doing, as they were likely trying to take their own career to the next level. They wanted to do something a lot of K-pop acts had failed to do in the past, which was to prove themselves and be able to stay in the American market. So anyway, people were saying how kind Jimin was for asking how Taehyung was, and asked if it was Taehyung's shoes that was likely the issue as to why Taehyung wasn't okay. JHope then came in and sort of told Taehyung to be careful, and we know that later probably told Taehyung to get some help too. JHope told Taehyung to take it easy today. And I think JHope is probably the only member who, when not feeling well or messes up, probably doesn't care. I think he values his own health and well-being more than he values working and overworking. This is, of course, a privilege to be able to slow down, especially if you feel like you haven't made it. I have this feeling that the boys often fought for their career, thinking of it as a life or death, and really, that is how you make it in the industry. You have to fight for it as if you want it more than you want to breathe. But I think there's been moments where even JHope has told Jungkook to calm down and be okay. JHope, during Break the Silence, told Jungkook that he needed to pace himself. JHope was excited that Jungkook dances and puts all his energy into his work, but then says if you lose control because you're tired or can't go on stage because you're shaking, that is worse. And JHope continues to say that this is what being a professional is. So I think JHope gives some of the best advice and really is so underrated. The more I learn about JHope, I become more and more of a stan. He's so smart and he likely wants to give help to some of the members. JHope always looks out for the other members, and I think this is just him being older and feeling responsible for the members. I think he feels responsible for the younger line, which includes Jungkook, Jimin, and Taehyung. Jimin is someone I am very surprised not more of the members are more concerned about, and I don't know if this is the right thing to say or if people will be upset that I said that, but he is someone that I worry about from time to time. So I'm going to be talking about his weight and eating, so if this is triggering to you or you struggle with weight topics, here's that warning. Jimin recently did a reaction to his documentary. This was alongside his release of his documentary. So of course he wanted to celebrate by watching it with ARMY. He got to a point where he talked about himself and how he looked. He commented on his weight in particular and talked about how big he looked there. Of course, I am assuming he just meant his face since that was all we were looking at. Of course, this received a bit of mixed reactions online because why is he talking about this? People felt that if he thought he was big, how big does he think people who are bigger than him are? Because I would say most of us are going to be bigger than Jimin. Jimin had an issue with his weight a long time ago, and it was made very public. People were calling him pig, and people have insulted him in all sorts of ways, talking about himself allegedly being overweight. However, I don't know what to say. This is not an overweight person by any unit of measure. In fact, in any scientific measurement, this is literally underweight. And people thought that Jimin maybe outgrew this phase or this mentality where he was calling himself, who is underweight, to be overweight. Jimin talked about how he was 65 kg at the time of the recording, which is about 143 pounds. But he apparently now is more so around 58 kg, which is about to hover around 123 pounds. And giving him the benefit of the doubt, let's say his height is shorter, which of course means he can weigh less and still be considered healthy. Let's say he is 5'7". The ideal healthy weight for 5'7" is 133 pounds. And so even if he weighed 143, he was still on the low end of that. And so this is concerning because it's very small and people worry about his stamina, worry about his general health. On one hand, I get why idols do this, right? Because it's hard to target weight. And I'm sure idols would care less about how their body looks because BTS mostly remains covered anyway, but they care about how their face looks. And so if their face appears bigger, they feel like they need to lose weight to maintain a jawline or cheekbones. However, it's just not healthy to do this. And I hope if he wants to lose weight, it is done in a more healthy way. Jimin, during the reaction, said that this is the moment in which JHope would leave. And I'm wondering what that means. If that means JHope just can't bear seeing the members not eating or being too skinny, or if he is saying something else that I am not sure about. But if it is still what I am thinking, then that is quite heartbreaking. And we can even see what JHope's reaction would be to these sorts of situations. And isn't it sad? I hope the boys can see the beauty in themselves, and I hope everyone else sees that people are calling Jimin beautiful not because of his weight, but because he is a beautiful person inside and out, even when he has an extra 10 pounds or so. So if you have that weight number or your face looks similar, that is okay, and you're beautiful just like that. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thanks, just love the comment right here. Love you. Bye.